welcome to the show, Siddarth. Pleasure to have you here. I mean, you're my first guest, and I'm really excited to see what you have to say. How are you doing today? How are you doing
I am
today?
great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really excited for what's ahead because I feel like a lot of people are blinded by how to start training. They don't have a particular idea on how to go. That guidance is really not seen. Like when I was starting out, it's very hard for me to find out info about
True.
programs such as what you've done, like MPL. So I can't wait to dive into that because a lot of people would be like gaining a lot of information from
hmm
that sort of thing. So yeah, you can. I mean, why don't you start out by giving our audience like sort of background, who you are, where you're from, all of that.
Okay, so I'm Siddarth. I'm right now 27 years old. I'm from Chennai. And so, just like everybody else, I finished my schooling and then I had a choice to pursue my flying at this place called IGRUA, Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy at Bareilly, UP. But then once I cleared the interview and everything, one of the instructors there told me it's better if I get a degree because, aviation is very volatile. And right now, it's very evident how volatile it is with the war ongoing and all
Oh yeah,
that.
for sure.
So then I
Mhm.
decided, okay, you know what, let me just get a degree. It's always good to have a backup because anything can go wrong and, aviation gets hit first. It's always the service sector which gets hit
Mhm.
the hardest. And it's very volatile because of fuel prices and because of global wars and because any kind of pandemic. The first thing to be hit is aviation. So I thought, okay, let's get a degree. It's good to have something I can always step back onto if something goes wrong. So I went and got a degree in mechanical engineering. In 2020, I graduated. And by then, like, this aviation dream had kind of become a little dull for me because I thought, okay, this is going to be my life. I'm just going to be an engineer and, do an engineering job. But then when I was sitting for campus placements, I got into a very good job. I was just thinking about the fact that should I even continue with this or should I actually pursue my long lost dream of being a pilot? So I went for my final interview and they told me, okay, we're ready to give you the job. I just signed this paper here. But then I had this clouded emotions in my head like, should I do it or should I not? So I told him I need 5 minutes to talk to my family. I came out. I told my family, like, guys, this is the situation. I would like to get the job, but at the same time, my heart says, go be a pilot. So what do you think I should do?
Mhm.
My dad, of course,
Right.
was kind of against this, but my mom was like, do whatever you feel seems right in your head and in your heart. So I was like, okay. I thought about it for 2 minutes. I went back in and said, I'm sorry, but I've changed my mind. I would not like to join the company. Thank you for your time and everything. Then they started increasing the salary. They started giving me whatever base I wanted. I said, I'm sorry, guys, but I've made up my mind. I made up my mind. I cannot, still join. They said, okay. And then I left that place a little happier, to be honest, than sad. Then the thing was, back then, I still don't have any insiders in aviation. As in, I did not know
Right.
anybody who was a pilot. I didn't have family members. I
Mhm.
didn't have friends. Nobody was a pilot. So I had to do a lot of research by myself to find out how do I become a pilot and all. So you come across YouTube, you come across Instagram, Facebook, where people are talking about join this course, join that course. So the problem is everybody sells their courses, but nobody tells you the direct path of becoming a pilot. So it was very misguided for me. So then, luckily, I found a friend who used to stay nearby who was also interested in being a pilot. And both of us knew an instructor in Chennai. So we
Mhm.
decided, okay, let's give him a call. Let's try and find out if, this sounds like a good plan. So we spoke to that man. He said, I'm taking classes and, I'm only taking people who are very interested in being a pilot. If you have other interests and stuff, then do not join because you need to be very
Mhm.
well
Right.
self motivated to be able to finish all these exams.
And he did mention that very early
He
on, did
did.
he?
He did. So he will only choose
Yeah.
you.
Don't you think that's really
Exactly.
important?
He will only choose you if you're
I
motivated enough
mean,
to finish the course. So I said, yeah, I'm just thinking of being a pilot. It's been my long lost dream and all that. He was like, okay. He took some very minimal amount and then he started teaching us the three basic papers, which was navigation, meteorology, and regulations. So I studied that for I think
Yeah.
1 or 2 months, or maybe 3 months max. And then I signed up for my computer number. And we all know computer number in India is a big hassle to get because they
Yeah.
want all these documents and they want the same thing posted to them as soft copies. And twice my computer number got rejected because of apparent signature mismatch, which I don't understand how, because the same
Yeah, for sure,
the
for
same
sure.
thing which I signed.
And we've all been there. We've all been there.
Exactly. Man, it's a big hassle.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
same thing which I'm signing on the papers, what I'm sending to them, but they're like, nope, it doesn't match. And this happened twice. I was getting so frustrated because I felt like I was just wasting time because I was ready to go give the exam. But
Mm-hmm.
then third time's the charm. So I got my computer number. I went and gave the exams. I believe I also got the All India rank one for meteorology. So that was like a big achievement for me back then.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And
Yeah.
then I decided, okay, you know what? CPL seems slow because by then I had made a few more connections who were pilots. So they told me
Mm-hmm.
the CPL
Right.
pathway is pretty slow. You'll have to wait for a lot of time, and there need to be openings, and the market is not that good to be a pilot. And this was told to me by an Indigo pilot. So I thought about it, and
Right.
then I decided,
This is when you were started looking into other
correct,
programs, right? Is
correct.
that?
So the first thing I'd found was the Indigo program and the SpiceJet program. So I didn't know much about Indigo, so I applied first for the SpiceJet program, and I had to pay some minimum amount, let's say 35,000 or something. And then meanwhile, when I told my friends about this, they were like, "Man, don't be stupid. SpiceJet as an airline is not doing that well, and the Cadet program also it's not a sure shot thing, because a lot of things can go wrong. And if you even want to do a CAD program, then go for an airline which is already well established, has a good profit margin, all that." So then I was like, okay, I'll pull myself out of SpiceJet's program and then apply for Indigo. So then I applied for Indigo, and they told me, and this was after COVID, around 2021, let's say September or October. They told me, okay, go finish off your RT, your radio telephony, and do your technical specific for the Cessna 172, just to clear off the exam, so
Okay.
that all the thing I can do is just start flying once I'm in. So I said, okay. I
Okay.
went to Delhi, gave my first attempt in RT, got it cleared. Then I went and gave my technical specific, got that cleared as well. I went back to them. And the thing was, they were not responding very quickly. They were responding to me after like 3 weeks or a month for just a simple email. And I was being very patient about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally they tell me, I'm sorry, but you'll have to wait for 2 more years. And then I was like, man, this is not happening. I can't sit at home doing nothing.
Yeah, that's when something needs to be done.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
And I was, I think,
Yeah.
23, 24 at the time. And I was like, man, I'm wasting my youth away sitting at home. All my friends are going to work or doing something of their own. And meanwhile, I had a friend who had already joined Air Arabia's CAD program. So he told me, hey, Sid,
Mm-hmm.
there's this program here in the Middle East. It's a little expensive compared to Indigo and all, but then you get 1,500 hours, which is and an ATPL, and the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of a contract. It's like Indigo.
Was that the first time you heard about the MPL program?
That's the first time I heard about the Air Arabia's MPL program. I had heard about MPL programs before and all, but Air Arabia was the first. I was actually interested in joining
How's this?
Singapore.
How's the selection process like for Air Arabia?
Okay, so at Air Arabia, you have two steps. One is an entrance exam and one is an interview. There's no GED, there's nothing else in between. So in your entrance exam, it'll be like an ADAP test. So they'll be testing your physics, maths, English, your cognitive abilities, your hand flying skills, or your motor skills, and your comprehension skills. So there are, I think, 6 to 7 tests which they will do. 3 of them are like subject based, and 4 of them are application based on the computer. And there'll be a huge final question interview or something. Not interview, it's like, checking if you're psychologically okay.
It's like a behavioral
Correct.
assessment. Is it like that?
Correct.
Okay.
So once and that you have 5 grading levels, and the top 2 grading levels are blue and green. Then comes yellow, orange, red, or something like that. And only if you have blue and green and everything do you pass to the next stage. There's like a minimum cutoff bench which you need to clear.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so you have to clear all these, and then you're scheduled for an interview with two panelists. One of them is either an instructor or a captain, and the other person is normally an HR person.
Okay.
And once you clear this interview as well, they'll tell you that congratulations, you're inside the academy. So it's a very straightforward process.
It's like less, very straightforward and less gimmicks on the
True.
way.
There's
Less
no
waiting. I
GD,
think when they
there's
select,
no
yeah,
psychological
yeah.
interview or anything. There's nothing in that.
I was just thinking about that. A lot of people are getting eliminated in the airline processes right now in the group discussion more than ever.
Hmm.
And it kind of tells you like all of that preparation, and in that panel you have to perform. So that sets the tone. You have to start performing well from day one so that you maximize your chances till the very end, because the game keeps on gaming, and then you have to be a really good player.
True.
What do you think about that?
Absolutely true. Also, once again, the reason that they have the GD round in most era interviews is because they want to check how your CRM skills are and how your communication skills are. Of
Right.
course, CRM is something which you can kind of teach someone. You can never change someone's behavior. You can only teach them like, okay, this is how we generally operate in the cockpit, and this is the same behavior we expect from you going forward. They can only expect that from you. They can never teach you how to behave. So in that way, I believe
Mm-hmm.
GD is actually better because they can really filter.
Mm.
Because we will see a lot of pilots who absolutely are crass to work with in the cockpit sometimes,
Okay.
whether it be first officer, whether it
Okay.
be captains, and it's probably because their CRM skills are weak. And CRM, for those who don't know, is crew resource management. It's a set of guidelines by which pilots conduct themselves in the cockpit. And so every pilot needs to have a good set of CRM skills in order to be able to efficiently coordinate with each other during doing all kinds of tasks in the cockpit. So that's what CRM is about.
For sure, like CRM is like, I think during the group discussion as well, there's a couple of presentations where they put an accident
Hmm.
investigation, and you can just read a brief from the screen for like 2 minutes,
Okay.
and then you got to discuss about it.
Okay.
So CRM is definitely mostly one of the causes, failure of application of CRM. Because I'm sure, like, since you've been flying as an airline pilot with your
Hmm.
company, you must have seen those incidents where things could go wrong if I don't do
Yeah, all
this.
the time.
Have you ever faced something like that? Yeah, can you tell us like something about that?
Okay. So the main thing is we need to speak up when it matters. And of course, when you're starting out as a junior first officer, the person on the left has, 15,000 hours, 20,000 hours, and you have barely like 50 or 100. It's very intimidating to kind of stand up and say something. But when you remember that your life is in your hands and everybody else's life behind you is also in your hands, that's when you realize the pressure and responsibility of standing up and saying something. For example,
Right.
I was in my initial days of flying. This was after I got line release as a first officer. And we were taxiing on the ground. And the captain has obviously been there like, hundreds of times at this airport. And that actually builds a sort of complex where they're like, okay, I know this place by heart in back of my head. I know exactly where it's going to tell me left, right, left, right. So you're already building that bias in your head that, this is what I'm going to get.
Mm.
So when the ATC finally gave us a taxi clearance, and I repeated the taxi clearance back to the captain, because we always, the first thing is I give a read back to the ATC, and then we cross talk and we confirm the route, and then we go.
Is that an SOP for the specific airline you
It's
work
not
for?
an SOP, but it's always recommended that you both discuss the taxi route which has been given by the ATC to avoid any confusion.
Okay, it's like a threat, like to avoid a particular threat that
One
could
big
come. Okay.
threat on the ground is generally a taxiway incursion. To avoid that, it's best to
Okay.
always, discuss the taxi route with each other so that we eliminate any kind of confusion as to where to turn or where to go. Because it happens all the
Yeah,
time.
especially the recent accident. Yeah, the recent accident at the airport in New York. I
Yeah.
think I'm not sure the airport name, but LaGuardia. I'm not sure. But then that was a pretty
The
bad
one where
crash.
the firefighters
Just
entered the runway, right? Yeah.
yes, very
Yeah,
unfortunate.
with Air Canada. That was sad.
Mhm. That was really sad. So yeah, you were saying, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
so
You were talking about how you were following the readback with respect to turning on taxiways.
so after giving the readback, we were discussing the taxi route, and this guy told me he knows the way. And then I really can't override
Okay.
him like that because I can't have no captain. You have to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. So whenever he's turning somewhere, I will mentally, trace the steps because I have the charts open right in front of me. And he was about to take a wrong
Yes.
turn. I said, Captain, stop. And I pressed the brake.
Okay.
So generally, that's
Okay.
the SOP we have. They say if any one of the pilots says stop, you have to stop the aircraft, regardless if you're
Wow.
captain or first
Okay. So,
officer.
I mean, that sets the tone really well for safety, at
Yeah,
least. You're being cautious
exactly.
for the very
So I
least.
said stop, and then he stopped, and then he realized, and then told him the captain, this is we're turning the wrong way. You have to turn this way. And he checked his start, and he was like, yeah, you're right. And then he turned into the correct way. And the problem was that this was at a very
Okay.
busy airport. So if you do any wrong turn, you instantly get reported by ATC.
Okay. And that's really bad going
Yeah, and
forward,
especially
right?
Indian airports,
Yeah.
the ATCs are pretty ruthless. Like they will not spare a
Okay.
second to, report you. And the problem
Wow.
is that they
Okay.
have so many reports which they file on a day-to-day basis that the report goes from their ATC team to our safety department maybe like a few months later. And then these guys have a bunch of
Oh, wow.
paperwork left. So then we get the call maybe 6 to 7 months later, and then they ask us what happened. And I'm like, you have to try to remember
That's
which flight
amazing.
this was, who were flying with, what happened. So to avoid all this
You're
mess,
keeping a separate log for that.
just don't get into the mess to start with.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think yeah. I mean, I keep telling my students or people,
Hmm.
who follow my content, like you gotta stick to the basics. There's no Mr. Know It All in
True,
aviation ever.
true.
You just keep learning every day. I'm pretty sure you just landed back after a
Hmm.
flight. I'm pretty sure you learned something on the way as
Every
well,
flight
right?
you learn something new. Every
S-
single flight, even if it's the same flight you're doing 10 times, a month, you still learn something new with every single flight.
Yeah, coming to that, you fly the A320, right? The type. So how has it been like so far? Because I have a couple of friends who are line release, they're also
Hmm.
flying, but I think you've been flying for a while. So how is it like getting used to it after all these
It's
hours?
great, honestly. It's a very forgiving aircraft. It keeps you protected at all times in all kinds of methods, and it's a pretty easy aircraft to understand. It's not as
Mm-hmm.
complicated as people think it is. But the thing is, your basics
Mm-hmm.
teach you everything which you need to know to go forward along this aircraft. And there are a lot of tricks and methods to control this plane. But once you get the basics right, it's a very simple aircraft to fly. You need to remember the modes
Would
and
you
all that.
recommend? Would you recommend people do their pre-type rating before going their type rating, or do they like? What about the post-type rating? Would you recommend that? Like I've been hearing a lot of people recommending me to do it before my type rating. So what do you think?
Pre-type rating, you say?
Yes.
Give me some information about that.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you don't know about it. It's like you give like a general outline of how the course would be, some things to look out for, just to be a little bit prepared before your
I
type
think that
rating.
is a good idea
So,
because the main
mm,
things that you need to know before any type rating once you start is your limitations, your memory items, and your SOPs. Now, SOPs will kind of differ from company to company, but the Airbus based SOPs are always the same.
right.
So if you just learn these three before you go for a type rating, your type rating will go smoother than usual.
And just like flight school, like we were talking about, not making much mistakes. Everybody will make a mistake. I remember I also made like a lot of mistakes. I mean, both of us combined would have made like a lot of mistakes more. But the idea is to reduce them, don't you think?
Exactly.
So I think pre-type rating helps with that.
Absolutely.
And there's also post-type rating, which is like for the airline interviews and all, just to be a bit guided on what to learn for the written
Mhm.
exams. Because I think for the written exams of a rated vacancy, they have this question
Mhm.
bank filled with like questions all about systems, limitations, going through the
Mhm.
FCOM. I mean, it's a big hassle, but then you need the job,
True,
right?
true.
So yeah, that's the thing.
So post type
So
rating, yeah.
after
Mhm.
selection, yeah, I'm so sorry.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
you're right.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no. Post type rating. You were saying we're just
Yeah,
talking
so
about
post
that.
type ratings does sound like a good idea because there was something which even I used to do, even though I didn't do a type rating or a CPL. I used to have
Mm-hmm.
these questionnaires which are, for each airline, like Indigo questionnaire, Air India questionnaire. I used to simply go through them to kind of identify what kind of questions I can expect. Now, of course, I had no
Okay, right.
A320 knowledge, I had nothing back then, but I was just going through them to get a sense of familiarity of what I can expect once I finish my CPL and then, go for an airline interview. So I definitely recommend that everyone do this just to build a sense of familiarity. Not because you need to know all the answers to the questions they're going to ask, because obviously they're going to ask something different. But you will not be caught off guard when you go for the interview because you kind of know the pattern of what to expect. And you can defend yourself better
Right.
and, prepare yourself better against these kind of questions. So absolutely, I
For
recommend.
sure. I mean, if you prepare a bit beforehand, you already know you can understand at least a bit, and you won't. I think like this saying goes like, "Don't let the plane get ahead of you.
Absolutely.
Always be ahead of the
Absolutely.
airplane." So this is just preparation, doing that for preparation, theory work,
Correct.
because theory in itself is very important. I think a lot of student pilots don't get that.
Hmm.
They just clear the exams. I know just 70 is the
Hmm.
passing, but you should really aim to get above 90.
Absolutely.
Because then your concepts are clear. Like, what do you think about that? Like, you said you topped the metrology exam. I know how much of hard work you to put to that because there's a lot of stuff to it,
True.
right? But it's such a good feeling when you can recall these concepts and be like, you know what, I know this, and I'm only gonna keep learning. Like, what do you think about that for anyone starting out?
So I would really recommend you guys put in hard work towards your exams because okay, you will not use 100% of the concepts that you're learning, but you will use at least 50 to 60%. But meteorology, you will use 100% of what you're learning, whether it be using meta, staffs, learning sigma charts, learning how this weather affects where, learning where the trade winds are, learning where the ITCZ lies. All this will actually affect what you see in real life. You'll see jet streams. You'll know that okay, this jet stream goes from here to here with this altitude, this time of the month. Let's say you're coming around July time to India. You know that there's heavy monsoon period activity there. So meteorology is something which you will absolutely use every single day that you fly in different ways. It won't be the same thing every day, so it'll be different ways. Like, you'll see a thunderstorm there, you know exactly what kind of thunderstorm it is, whether it's, in the dissipating stage or mature stage. So accordingly, you'll want to keep separation and by how much. That's where your SOP comes along with MET, or your company SOP. So then you have navigation procedures, which you'll be using a lot as well. And the equipment you have on your aircraft, you have altimeters, you have the vertical speed indicator. Every aircraft has this. So you really need to know your basics really well in order to be able to fly a plane. And air law, of course, like because everything we do is bound by law. It's not like driving a car where you can go left, right, however you want. Everything here is in a very systematic way, and everything is bound by legal framework as to this is what you do, this is what you do by IATA and by ICAO. So all these three papers are very important, along with your technical specific and technical general. That is if you're flying in India. If you're flying in somewhere in the European side, you have the EASA pattern, in which you'll have 12 subjects, each broken down into like different patterns. But I've used
Yeah.
70% of my theory knowledge so far in my flights, and I've just been starting off flying.
Okay.
So there's so much more
Yeah,
to.
it's a long way
Yeah,
to go.
exactly. There's so much more to explore.
Right. Amazing, amazing advice, my friend. So I think now I did mention to a couple of friends that I would be, meeting and having this conversation with an MPL,
Hmm.
pilot. I can call you an
Yeah,
MPL
sure.
pilot now, right? Can I? So I mean, there's not much conversation about it,
Hmm.
I haven't heard anyone talk about it in a way that I can consume, but I think in a conversation it becomes pretty clearer than before. So, in a way, like I have a couple of questions specifically for this. It is MPL. I'm just gonna go on for a bit, and then you can correct me after. MPL license is tied to one company, right? And it is different from a CPL in what ways? These are the kind of questions uh, I thought about, but there are other couple of questions too. First off, is MPL valid in India? Like, which all countries accept it?
Okay, so MPL, like you said, is airline specific uh, license. So multi-crew pilot license, and
Okay.
it's very different from the concept of CPL, PPL, SPL, and ATPL. Generally, when you're starting off flying in the modular method, that's what we call it, you'll have to get your SPL, student pilot license. Then you do your 200 hours and multi in, you get a CPL. Then, you go forward and forward. Then you get SPL, then you get a PPL, 50 hours, then you get CPL, and then you get an ATPL finally at 1,500 hours. In airlines, since they want you to start right away flying the jets, they'll give you a minimal amount of single engine time, maybe like 50 hours or 100 hours or 75 hours, depending on the airline to airline. Now, so what we do is we first give all the eight, at least my airlines training MPL program, we first clear all the ATPL papers, the 12 ATPL papers, which are because UAE is based on the GCAA, and that is based on the syllabus of the EASA. And EASA is different from India's DGCA, where that follows the FAA pattern. So we first clear off the 12 ATPL papers. We give like a small RT test, and then we get our English proficiency test as well. And then we go for flying training. And this flying training, like I said, it can be any amount of hours, because the airline decides how much hours you need to get before you jump into the simulators. So my airline used to give me 50 hours of flying on a Cessna 172 or a 152. And then we immediately start our pre-type rating. So in any of,
Okay.
since 50 hours is not enough to get a PPL, not enough to get a CPL, we just stop with that and then we immediately go to type rating. And, you do a type rating and all that. And once you're finished with your skill test, which is your basically type rating check, you're awarded the MPL. Because MPL basically says that, okay, we are so-and-so airline, we are training you according to our methods. And hence, this license is given to you by us. So if I have an MPL of Air Arabia, I
Right.
cannot join Indigo or Air India or anything
Right.
because it's not
So it is
valid.
specific to a specific
Exactly,
airline.
it's not
Right.
valid.
Okay. Okay. And it's not valued. Is that what is that? Why do you think it's not
It
valued?
is valued, but
Valued?
it's not
Is it?
valid by other airlines.
Okay. Valid. Right. 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 Okay. So an MPL is tied to one
Correct,
specific airline.
correct. And once you get this MPL, you can only fly with this airline until you get your ATPL. Or if it was an Indigo, until you get your CPL.
Right. And what happens after getting the ATPL? How does that change? Like, suppose you wanna like fly for another airline after you completed your stint at that MPL licensed airline. How does one go about
Once
that?
you get your ATPL, you are free to leave, technically. Because now airlines start looking at you like an experienced first officer. So, for example, Qatar Airways, it requires you to have an ATPL
Mm-hmm.
and a minimum of 1,500 hours. So let's say I finish the Air Arabia program and I want to leave for some reason. I can always choose to decline the extension contract and take my ATPL and my 1,500 hours and then go to some other airline. I can always do that. But
You're free to do that after
correct.
that requirement is
Correct.
met.
But until I get my
Okay.
ATPL, I am locked in with this airline.
Okay. And that is mostly is there a contract to it, or is just depends on when you complete it? Is that how it is?
So we did sign an agreement beforehand that we will not leave in between. There is no bond to leaving before you get your ATPL, but then it's kind of, you're shooting yourself in the leg by saying, I want to leave.
No, for
Because
sure.
nobody will hire you because you don't have a PPL, a CPL, or an ATPL.
You're tied to the
I'm tied to
airline.
the
Yeah,
airline. And if
exactly.
I leave this place,
Mm.
I can't go anywhere else. So I have to come back here only. And they will not take me once I leave. So you're kind of
Yeah, for
locked
sure.
in with the airline uh, in that matter. But once you get your ATPL, you're kind of free to leave because now other airlines are, eyeing you as someone who's experienced in flying.
Right. And you're building up experience
Correct.
anyway. I mean, talk about how difficult or like extensive the process is to get an airline job in today's world.
Exactly.
It's beyond me
Yeah, I have so many
because I think
friends who did
before,
CPL, and it's a difficult process now, especially with the with the current scenario. There are hundreds and hundreds of people who are waiting in line to get a job, and it's the competition's only getting tougher. It's not getting easier by any way.
yeah, I mean, when the going gets tough, the tough gets
True,
going,
true.
right? Yeah, that's what like, I keep saying. Like, if you're preparing right prepare properly, like
Mm.
prepare really well.
Mm.
Have the airline in mind before you even prepare, because it's going to be a long journey, right? Yes. Another question I got is that in for the Air Arabia Cadet program, is there any sort of notion for loans? Any assistance with respect to that? Does the company pay? Is there like an income monthly fixed payment thing going on? Anything like
When you
that?
come to loans for joining the academy, there's no loans as such. You'll have to figure out something with the bank, with your local bank. And the thing is also
Okay.
that the program is a little expensive. It costs 700,000 dirhams, which is approximately 1.4 CR. And
Currently, like
currently,
at the moment.
yeah, currently.
Okay.
Even when I joined, it was approximately that only. And like I said, the pros are very good and the cons are also pretty bad. Coming to the pros, it's
Okay.
that you will, be trained from A to Z of everything about this aircraft, and you'll be getting 1,500 hours and an ATPL directly with this program. So they will literally, guide you step by step from nothing till you're a experienced first officer. So that's a very good thing. And the second pro is that you are flying in the Middle East. And if your aim was to join one of the big three, which is Emirates, Qatar, or now it's going to become Riyadh Air, you're kind of flying in their backyard. So,
You're in the right
yeah,
process. You're going in the right
exactly. So
way.
you have Gulf experience. And Gulf carriers, since they sit in the middle of the world, literally, we fly everywhere. We fly as north as Russia, all the way west as Italy, sometimes UK, all the way east as Kuala Lumpur and all that. So we kind of go into every single kind of environment, from the dust storms of the Middle East to the snowstorms of the northern Russia and Poland, and the thunderstorms of India, and the bad weather ring near the Ring of Fire and all that. So we kind of have like all
Wow.
kinds of experience as to flying. We have seen everything literally, you can say, except maybe volcanoes, which I really don't want to see.
No,
But
yeah,
yeah,
volcanic ash. You don't want
yeah.
that.
In fact, we had one of those when this mountain in Nairobi erupted, maybe 5, 6 months ago. We got the warning about the fact that this is ash cloud headed this way, and we fly to both Uganda as well as Kenya. So it was kind of dicey to because because of the winds pushing it to eastwards. So we had to be very careful of the
Hmm.
routes we take. It's a dispatcher's job to appropriately route us, but we as pilots also need to look out, because
For
flying
sure.
to
I
ash
think
cloud,
the roar.
we have had some pretty bad experiences if you look at history.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything in memory that you can come up with? Because I think a lot of people don't know much about ash cloud, how bad an ash cloud is for a flight to operate properly.
So ash cloud is basically when the volcano erupts. Uh, and this ash cloud has a lot of particles, which are charged particles, and they melt the inside of a jet engine, which could either cause a flame out,
Hmm.
or it could actually sandblast your entire windshield to clog your sensors and all that. First of all, it reduces visibility. You'll see a gray cloud literally. You not even think it's an ash cloud. It actually looks like a cloud, like a thunderstorm cloud. But then once you enter, that's when you realize, okay, shit, I am inside an ash cloud. So for us,
And then it's probably too late. You got to like find a way to get out of
exactly.
there.
That's why the first step for us in SOP is almost a memory item, which is take your heading knob, pull it 180 degrees, get the hell out of there.
Very simple,
Yeah,
straightforward.
exactly. And there was a very famous incident of British Airways. I think British Airways Speedbird 9 or something. That was the call sign. And it was a 747 which went into an ash cloud and all four engines failed.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
that happened. There was a KLM flight which also, a 747, which lost all its engines. So there have been incidents which has happened in the past. It's a very rare thing to happen, honestly, unless you're flying in some place like the Ring of Fire, which is in Southeast Asia. That area has a lot of volcanic activity. So if you're flying in that area,
It's amazing how the geography is like insane. Like that whole area is surrounded by like
exactly,
that's like
correct.
that area. You have to be very careful
Yeah, the
flying there.
Java, Sumatra, all these islands, they all line the Ring of Fire. And there are underwater volcanoes, there are overland volcanoes. So anytime anything could erupt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just like to go back on what we talked about, metrology is super
Exactly.
important to everyone listening. The better you know, the better you can operate.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think you've given us a fair description about how MPL
Hmm.
works. Now I just want to like turn it up a notch because I think a lot of, like you said, like we talked about, there's a lot of people in the pipeline of an airline hiring process, or like they've completed CPL, they don't know what to do. What would be like what would be your sort of mm, way of thinking about spending your time after your CPL before your airline, anything with respect to the airline
Okay.
starts?
So if you have chosen to just do your MEIR and not give your type rating, then I suggest you learn about the aircraft which you could potentially fly. Let's say you're waiting for Air India Express interview. I would say learn a bit more about the airline, learn a bit more about the aircraft that you're going to fly. Keep polishing your CPL knowledge because that's primary in the interview. And I believe even you're given the interview, so even you're sure about what kind of questions that they can ask. So the main thing is, be focused. Don't lose focus once you get a CPL. A lot of people think, okay, this is over. No, I just have to join an airline. But that is the toughest part.
Have you seen any instances of people around you going through that? Like, what is that? What is that? Like, any stories
Yeah.
there?
So when I started out, I had a few friends who were with me during the classes, and they did the CPL, the model away from US and from Canada and all. They did their multi-engine. They had to come to India, do their conversion to DGCA, which of course takes a lot of time because DGCA, it's bureaucratic red tape again. So
It's kind of complicated.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of scope for
Yeah.
corruption and this and that. So honestly, start your process immediately. Don't delay anywhere because the more you delay, the more they delay you. So get all your documents in check, get it submitted early, get it converted early, get it back quickly. Start reading up on airlines which are open and start applying. And don't limit yourself to just India. There are a lot of airlines across the world which also hire. For example, there's Bamboo Airways in Singapore, in Vietnam. Then there are a few airlines here and there in the Middle East which also hire CPL candidates. And the thing is, grab what you get. Don't be picky in the beginning. That's what I'd always tell people. They're like, no, I'm waiting for Singapore Airlines to open. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, don't waste your life waiting
Hmm.
for that opening to come. Grab something for now, whichever gives you a head start. Start working there, and then eventually you can always move. Because sometimes you'll have to wait for
Yeah, for
years. And
sure.
my friends waited for years, I think 2, 3 years after CPL to get an airline job because it's all based on the market. And if the market is down, then everyone's being accumulated. Like you, there are hundreds of other guys who are doing a CPL and coming back. So you're standing in a big queue, and what separates you from him?
Hmm.
It's experience.
Exactly.
Tomorrow, if I join a
Yeah.
charter company, fly the Dash 8s or fly the de Havillands and get some kind of experience, when I tomorrow go for an airline interview, I'll be preferred first. I may not have a type rating, but I still have flying experience. That's why
Sure.
airlines value flying experience because they know that you have seen much more than the regular CPL candidate. That's why some airlines have a very high minimum requirement. For example, Emirates requires 2,000. Fly Dubai requires, I believe, 2,000 as well. It's because they really value experienced pilots.
Hmm.
So I will always say that,
Yeah.
keep your basics in check. Read about the airline, read about the aircraft that you're going to fly, prepare hard, and then go. Don't slack.
Yeah, and for sure, don't slack. Because even I also went through that phase. I think when I came back, uh, there weren't any vacancies available. But even though the vacancies started out, their process within itself was very took a long time in between.
True.
And for me, I was very distraught because I was hoping that things would pick up because all my training was very
Hmm.
fast, so I was very used to that. And then I had to like slow down, see where it's taking me, and ultimately kind of be patient, which helps, right? For sure, because I think you've also seen stages where you just have to like get it done, those ATPL exams. I'm sure it would have taken a lot of effort and patience to get through them, right?
Absolutely, man. So we had 9 months of ground training, then 4 months of Cessna, and then 6 months of simulator training. So at every stage, you're like, oh my God, when is this going to end? And when you get to the next step and the next step and the next step, and when you finally get to the right seat, you'll kind of miss the old days where, you took it for granted. You kind of miss the classroom days where you're sitting with your batchmates, having fun, studying. You kind of miss the days when you're flying Cessnas because once you get into the airline flying, it's very regimented. There's no scope for error. There's no scope for doing this and that. Everything you do is SOP, SOP, SOP. So you really miss the carefree days of flying once you're in the airline. But everything's in stages, right? Like you have to give your best in every stage
Yeah.
in order to be a complete pilot. And yeah, that's about that.
Yeah. No, because I agree with you. Because during training, I remember the good memories, everybody huddled in the
Hmm.
briefing room. You're helping people out with maps, their first solo cross country. Like all of this feels so insane because you're just doing it for the first time.
Exactly.
How was your first solo cross country experience? Because I feel like more than the solo itself, the cross country is the
True.
craziest. Because you literally have to go to another airport and land
True.
by your own and come
True.
back
True.
alive.
True.
Where you probably did it
In Saudi.
in Saudi. Yeah, how was that
So
like?
I was sent by my airline. My airline sent us to different countries for flying training. So the current batches are going to Italy and to Czech Republic. When I was training, we were either sent to Saudi Arabia or Czech Republic. I was sent to Saudi as the first batch, and we flew Cessnas near Riyadh airspace. So that's like a proper airline airspace. And obviously, the airline controllers want us to get out of their airspace because they're busy with flying. They're busy controlling all these 777s and 320s and 330s and 747s.
Lot of heavies
Yeah,
over there.
and we would come on the ATC, and I would try and give my broken radio call to them, and all the airlines are waiting for me to finish my radio call. But they were still very nice because you tell them that you're a student pilot, and they're very slow and very calm with you. And my first cross country was from the airport that we operate out to an airport called Gasim, which is also a destination for my airline. So when I was on final approach there doing an ILS with my instructor, there was an Air Arabia behind us. My instructor
Wow.
said,
Okay,
look, that is where you will be in 1.5 years. And that moment it felt
that's insane.
surreal, like I'm here flying a Cessna, landing into the airport, and the airline which I fly for very soon is right behind me. So I
Wow,
landed.
that's so much
Yeah,
reassurance. That's so much reassurance. Like it definitely must have pushed you harder
exactly. I
for
landed, I
sure.
vacated, and I saw the Air Arabia landed. I'm like, wow, look at the 320, look at us. Look at the size difference. And literally, I think 6 months ago, I landed there in Gasim as an first officer, and I saw the same Cessnas land there. And I was like, wow, that used to
See,
be me.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's the process.
Exactly. That's trust the
You have
process.
to trust the
Absolutely.
process. It makes sense. I mean, I think it's a very overrated piece of advice, but I really think it makes sense because you put your head down and work, and then ultimately one day you'll watch the same thing happen and you'll be in the
True.
controls,
Because I used to be there once
You
upon a
have to be
time. Yeah.
patient. You have to be patient. There's no other way
Very
to
true.
it.
Very true.
Yeah. And then I think after your solo cross countries, you genuinely develop this sort of it's like getting into something very
Hmm.
familiar, your aircraft, like your
Hmm.
Cessna. Then it becomes really fun. I remember there's a point in cross country flying when I'm like, okay, now I'm having fun. I'm getting up in the morning, I'm going to the airport and coming
Hmm.
back, all good, completing 7, 8 hours. The time building time was like really
True.
good
True.
for
True.
us.
So that's the thing. You
Yeah.
will kind of miss those days of uh, of flying once you start flying with the airlines.
I think you like if any student like pilot is listening to this and actually flying right now, make sure you follow the SOP and have fun in the process because that's what you don't get later. I guess that's what Siddharth's trying to
Hmm.
say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Trust the process and kind of live in the moment because these moments,
Yep. Yeah, we should.
they won't come back again. So,
Yeah, for sure. Because now, like you just told me that you came back from a flight, you know that you got to get that rest. Tell me how important this rest is, because I think a lot of people still take it for granted. Sleep,
100%.
all of that, nutrition.
Yeah.
Can you like tell me or tell us about how you manage all of that?
Okay. So sleep is absolutely vital. And it's because all your functions, body functions, are all controlled by the amount of rest you get. And if you're burning yourself out by staying up for a night flight or, going out the entire day and then coming for a flight, your entire body is already tired. So every action that you take will be a little slowed down. And when you're flying an aircraft, it's not like driving a car. You have all three axes to go about it, and anything can go wrong mid-flight. So you really want to be as sharp as possible. For and 90% of your flights will be event free, but that one flight, where something goes wrong, you want to make sure that you give your best and you do your best. So the main thing about that is getting an ample amount of sleep and ample amount of rest, so that you perform to the best of your abilities. You remember exactly what you need to do. You know what you need to do. Um, so get as much sleep as possible, especially for red eye flights because you're flying against the circadian rhythm, and especially in the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, in the morning. That time is a circadian low because your body wants to go to sleep, but you're up against it and trying to do something. So that is why we always are told that, before your flight, 6 to 7 hours at least get rest. If you're not closing your eyes,
Hmm.
at least, do something which is low intense, just to give your body the enough time to recuperate and again operate to its best once you're flying. And when it comes to nutrition as
No, for
well,
sure.
like, every 1 year you have a class one medical or class two medical. So in India, it's very stringent. The class one medical is one of the toughest in the world. So you have to be fit at all times. And, the first medical you do, you will notice how every single aspect of your body is checked to see if it's working properly. And then the renewal onwards, you will have again, like a 5 year countdown. So this test needs to be done at this
Hmm.
stage, this test needs to be done at this stage. So being fit is also very important, because it affects you mentally, if not physically, because you're not doing much of physical work in the cockpit. Mentally, it does affect you. As if you put on weight, you become lazy, and there's no space for laziness in the cockpit.
Hmm. Yeah, well said. Yeah, for sure. I think when you come back from a flight, there is always a gym around you. I think you should, you know, take yourself to the gym instead of just like passing out, because you got to keep that
Yeah,
active,
and
right?
you will feel better as a person if you're fit. When you wear the uniform, you do not want to look overweight. And I had that issue, honestly, when I was starting off, where I was fitter. But once you start flying, you become lazy to go to the gym, and you're like, "Oh, it's okay, I'll go tomorrow." But tomorrow never comes. You'll try to find excuses to not go, and then you'll see the weight being put on. It's a very latent weight which you keep putting on when you're flying. Like, you'll not see it one day. You After 10 days, you'll check your weight and you'll see it's a big spike. It's because you're telling yourself that you're busy and you're not going to the gym. And man, I have seen captains who run for kilometers daily in the morning before flights and come. They wake up at 4, they wake up at 5, they run kilometers, and then they come to for the flight. So it's all about, if you want to look fit, if you want to look good in the uniform, you will do something to be fit.
Wow, that's like, yeah, it's so relatable because these captains have been flying for a
Yeah,
long time. Probably before you were
exactly.
born, they would have started
Exactly.
training, right? So, and it makes sense for you to think that, hey, something they might be doing must be right. And I should probably do that too.
True. And they will tell you, in fact, like, hey man, get more fitter, lose more weight, because they know what happens if you don't. You're in a
Hmm.
world of
Okay.
pain if your medical gets suspended or, cancelled. Because all this money, all this energy, all this time you've invested in training is gone. In flying is gone, and this career needs you to be fit mentally and physically. There's a reason we have a class one medical, right? It's because they want to make sure that the pilots who are responsible for those 150, 200, 300 lives behind you are fit to fly. So you really have to give a lot of attention to your nutrition and to your sleep. There will be flights where you'll go with no sleep because you have this and that, but at least get a few hours of shut eye before you go. That few hours will actually help you a lot.
I think, yeah, a lot of people delay that sleep with respect to blaming it on other things. Because I remember even during training, during flight training, we had to put ourselves to rest. I mean, you get tired anyway, but you can't like stay up the whole night and do something before a flight in the
True,
morning, right? You don't do
true,
that. So I think that discipline really has to resonate when you join an airline
correct.
also.
And when you're flying a 7 hour flight, let's
Otherwise,
say
like
to
you said,
Bangkok from
yeah.
Dubai, or a 10 hour flight almost to Kuala Lumpur, you can rest in flight in a period of controlled rest, which is like 40 minutes per person. But the other 9 hours or other 6.5 hours, you have to stay attentive. You can't watch
Hmm.
movies, you can't do anything, so you have to keep monitoring. And when you're staring out into the night sky, it's natural for a body to feel sleepy or drowsy. That's why you must have
Hmm.
heard there are a lot of pilots just chug coffee, black coffee every flight to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
up.
yeah.
And yeah, we all do that, but it's not, see, flying is never healthy. That's the first thing that all the seniors will tell you. You age much faster than you actually think. And
Okay.
unless you keep yourself fit and unless you use a lot of sunscreen if you're flying the daytime, your body will really start feeling old and you will start getting back pain from sitting in that same posture, so many hours. I've seen captains get up and then just jog in place, march in pace, do push-ups, all that in the cockpit just to stay a little bit mobile. It's a very sedentary job.
Okay.
Uh, Flying itself is a very sedentary job. So
Hmm.
try and be active the remaining hours of the day. Do something, you can go for a
Hmm.
walk, you can go for a swim, go play badminton, go play tennis, do whatever you want, but just get some kind of activity in.
I think it all goes a long way
Yeah,
later on.
healthy body is
Like
a healthy
you
mind.
wanna remain flying. Yeah, you wanna remain flying for a long time. You do the things required to make that happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so I wanna talk about. I want you to imagine being a senior captain at your dream airline. All right, what are three qualities you would always look in a co-pilot who just joined you flying with? Like, what is, if anybody is listening to this, what can they work on to aspire to be at that level?
Hmm. The first thing I would say is how regimented you are, because this is a no bullshit profession. There is no scope for error, and you absolutely cannot slack in the job that you have, because safety is involved. And honestly, flying, it's not a dangerous profession because you have so many systems in place, so many rules in place, but you can make it dangerous if you do. So the first thing is be regimented about what you're doing. This is a job like any other job. Don't treat it like like a hobby. That's why I say if you really love flying, an Air Force pilot told me this a long time back because my dad didn't want me to be a pilot. The first thing he told me
Oh,
is
wow.
airlines, first of all, will suck the joy of flying out of you. And that's kind of true in a way because um, every single thing you do is a procedure. You cannot say, I'm going here, I'm going there. You have to follow exactly the rules and regulations and flying exactly according to that. So the first thing I would say is be regimented, be strict with yourself about what you do and how you do. The second thing is punctuality. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not always punctual, but I try and be as punctual as possible because punctuality is like a very important thing for the airlines. We always have strict OTPs and quick turnarounds and all. So you have to be very quick with everything. And if you're a person who's like, okay, I'll reach 10 minutes later, I'll reach 10 minutes late, it's fine, nothing will happen. No, something will happen. And airlines keep a record of your punctuality, believe it or not. And when they're giving you the
Wow.
contract or when they're giving you an appraisal or a bonus, everything they look at. So being punctual is a pretty important thing. And I would say the third thing is communication skills. Like how you behave in the cockpit is a reflection of how you are as a person. If you choose to sit there quietly and give one word answers whenever I talk to you, I get this feeling that you're not someone who's open to communication at all. That is why,
And that's a big
yeah, that
problem.
is a big problem because when there's a problem with the aircraft, then you'll have to communicate. And if your communication skills are not good, it's a big problem because you're a two-man team and the team
Mm.
needs to work efficiently by communicating with each other. And if your communication is completely broken down for some reason, then it's going to be hard to get a message across. And that happens even with
Mm.
captains as well. Sometimes you'll fly with training captains who are very strict and, they're very harsh with you. And when they're super harsh with you, they kind of lose you as a member in the cockpit. Because if you spot something which you want to talk to him about, you are scared to tell him. So it comes down to the kind of
I,
atmosphere you build inside the cockpit. We have this subject called human performance and limitation. So there's three kinds of cockpit. There is an autocratic pilot who's basically, don't ask me questions, don't tell me what to do. I know what to do, you keep quiet. Like that's called an autocratic person. Then there is the balanced person who takes in opinion, takes in input, but also gives out output. And the
right.
cockpit's gradient curve is slightly leaning from up to down, left to right, which means from captain to FO, it's like a slightly downward curve. And then there's a
Mm.
laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is a French word, I think. It means someone who's like, very open. Like, let's say you cannot call a captain as bro or, anything else like that by his name or something in my airline at least. Because that builds kind of like this feeling in the other person that, okay, we both are equals. But that's not the case. He is not your equal. He is a commander and he has a
True.
commander's responsibility because of experience. So you cannot treat him as an equal. That's the reason
Hmm.
captains have the ultimate authority and the final say of the plane.
Yeah, I can't imagine the immense responsibility that they have. Like literally, there's a vessel in the sky, and they are in charge of it.
Exactly. I'll give
You
you an
know.
easy, small example of how this happened. So I flew with one of the people who were my cover pilots when I was in training. So he was a senior first officer doing his
Mm-hmm.
command upgrade, and I was in training as a second officer. And he was very laid back and chill. It's a good flight and all. And then recently I flew with him again. And then I noticed
Mm.
while he was on the left seat, flying with me, he was like, get the weather, get this, get that, get this, get that. And I'm like, man, why are you so tensed? And he's like, brother, if you do the command upgrade, they will show you all kinds of failures which you could not even imagine that can go wrong.
Mm.
And once you get to the left
Okay.
seat, you'll see the responsibility of what you need to do when, and everything comes down to you because it's like the Sully movie. All the
Mm.
responsibility came to him, and he's in the end responsible for the plane and his actions. And in that moment, only he can take the correct decision. One wrong decision means 1,000 people will point fingers at you. And in airline
Right.
flying, every decision you take should be the right decision. One wrong decision, and then
Yep.
your career is kind of on shaky ground.
That's a very like fine way of looking at it. Like every decision has to be the right
Yeah,
decision. Like there's no other ways to it.
exactly.
You know.
There's
Wow.
there's not much scope for error in airline flying. You can't land
Mm.
anywhere you want. You can't do anything. Everything is controlled. So
I think people need to be aware of that. People preparing for the airlines, especially like you are signing up for something like this.
exactly,
So you gotta put your heart into it.
exactly.
You gotta put everything you have into it because then it'll be worth it. Otherwise, you just you don't know,
Yeah,
right? You can possibly choose the wrong career. So really look into if you want to do it. Do you want to like tell everyone listening to actually take a good stand if they want to do aviation or not. Right? Because I think most people look at the lavishness of it. They look at the glamour. They look at the
and that's kind of
destination.
the sad part, I feel,
Like,
because I joined this profession because I had a passion for flying. I get hundreds of messages every day on LinkedIn or Reddit or Instagram, and people are like, "Hey, brother, how are you? I want to be a pilot. This life seems very cool. Can you please tell me the salary for the first officer?" I'm like, guys, stop worrying about
mm,
the salary. You will get there eventually. Instead, start wondering what you're going to do if you're, in this place and that place, and stop looking at it from a perspective of, oh, the lifestyle is amazing. The lifestyle is a byproduct of your profession. It is not the product of your profession.
Mm.
If you're joining an aviation course or becoming a pilot just because you want to enjoy, swanky layovers, you can get much better hotels if you do business or something.
Mm, right.
So they don't look at it from that perspective. And many of them do it only because, wow, it looks cool. Man, you'll realize once you put,
I wish more people knew that.
once,
I wish more people knew that before starting
yeah. And
it.
most of these guys are from school, direct from school. And they're like, they'll go on a flight, let's say an Indigo flight from here to there as a passenger. They look at the cockpit, they're like, wow, the uniform looks cool, the cockpit looks cool. They must be having good layovers in Taj or whatever. I also want to be a pilot. That is an
Mm.
absolute wrong thing to, you know, it's a wrong thing to take it that way because they don't know
Since you
the
mentioned it,
amount of hard work and training and sleepless nights that they have to put in, to get there. That's why many of them stop midway or in the beginning itself. Once they realize, like, oh my God, what is this? What have I signed up for?
mm, yeah, like a lot of people do want to be pilots. They've dreamt about this stuff, but then they often fail to realize that, hey, it's not just money that's involved, it's everything, It's literally everything. You have to put it
Yeah, the
out there.
seriousness only kicks in once you're in there. That's when you realize that this is not a
Mm.
joke. Like, what you're training to do
This
is
is
not a
not a
joke. And
joke,
you're
yeah.
spending your parents' hard earned money or your own hard earned money to get there. So you need to take a very well informed decision before you actually step your foot inside. Because once you step your foot inside, then it'll just drag you down if you're not well informed.
Right. I mean, do you have any sort of like caution for people listening to watch what to actually not look out for when people try to advertise you?
Yeah,
Here's here we'll take care of your ground classes and all of that. Like, what should you view as red
I would say, guys,
flags?
do
Before
your
you
own
get into it.
research. I did almost 6 months of everyday research to find out a good airline, to find out a good classes. Do your research. Don't believe anybody out there who just says, we will give you so and so job, so and so money. Everyone wants something which benefits them in the end of the day. And if you're foolish enough to just simply, put a hand, if you show them a finger, they'll grab your hand, basically. So do your own research, read up about the airline life, talk to more people who have no vested interests in what you're kind of getting into. If you go talk to someone who is owning a flight school, he will obviously say, my flight school is number one, we will give you placements, this and that. It's bullshit. No one's going to give you that. What they will do is they'll give you a training, you will finish your papers, and they'll say bye bye. That's it. They will just tell you,
Gotta be
okay, you know
careful.
what, there's this flight school here. We have a setup with them, go train with them and come back. So basically, they get a commission out of it. So never choose someone to talk to who has vested interests in what you're flying to get. If you want to be an airline pilot, talk to an airline pilot. If you want to be like a flying instructor one day in your life, talk to a flying instructor. Don't talk to someone who can potentially use you to make money or to make profits or anything. Because there's so much in India. I've seen so many flying schools which advocate really, ludicrous types of salary ranges and all that. And I'm like, man, even the senior
Mm.
most pilots in the Middle East countries don't make that much. So what are you kind of, playing? So yeah, at the end of the day, do your research. Don't be fooled easily by all these flight schools who tell you will give you a 10 lakhs per annum job, 8 lakhs per annum job, because that's not true. That's not the reality at all at the end of the day. So yeah, be real steadfast about it.
I think we have to be really realistic when we look at these things, or leave out the glamour behind and focus on the intricacies, which is very well defined. Like, you have to do these things to get that license. And for a lot of people, it takes a lot from them, and you need to be okay with it.
Correct.
I wish more people knew that.
It's years of sacrifice. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of time, energy, and mainly a lot of money. So you really got to know that, this is a high risk, high reward job. Every single thing you
That's
do
a good way to
from the
put it.
beginning till the end is high risk, and there is a high reward at the end of it. But unless you're really signing up for the high risk, you will not get the reward. So kind of know what you're getting into. Because I've seen a lot of kids who come straight out of school. They're like, "Oh, I want to be an Indigo pilot. I want to be an Air India pilot." Like, slow down. Think about what you really want to do in life. Think about the requirements of this field. Think if you're capable enough to join this and do this, and then step into it. Make a well informed decision before you put your something, put a leg inside.
Yeah, I wish more people know that, and I hope this episode, this conversation, really helps them figure things out a bit better than before, because we never got all of this. Like when I decided to, have this conversation with you, I'm just thinking, if I'd known all of this, I would have saved a lot of money and
Yeah.
time. Like, think
Yeah.
about it,
Same.
and like especially time,
Exactly. Same here.
yeah, because I don't think time is quite valued in a lot of like like institutes here.
True.
Come to think about
Even
it,
with Air India
so
Express
you
or
really got to
Indigo, when my
know.
friends tell me that, every single stage is 3, 4 months apart, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of time in between where you guys have, use it wisely. Don't go traveling around here and there and spending it
Exactly.
on parties and all. Because
Hmm.
we didn't
Learn
have.
something that would help you in the cockpit.
Exactly. And as a MPL cadet for Air Arabia, we never had this time in between, phases. You finish ground school today, okay, in 3 days, pack your bags, you're going to Saudi. Once you're back, okay, you have a month to prepare for A320's systems, start your type rating. So we never had that much of a break anywhere. More than 2, 3 weeks, we never had it in between any of the phases. So
That's a
yeah,
blessing. That's a
it's a
big
blessing in
blessing.
disguise. So when you are in Air India or
Mm.
whether you're in Indigo, if they tell you as 3 months to for this stage, start preparing earlier on. It's going to make your life easier.
Mm.
Whether you go this way or that way,
Yeah.
the destination is the same. It all depends on which road you take. If you're well informed, you're well prepared, then you choose easier road for you.
Yeah. The better you think of it, like the better you prepare, the faster the car you
Exactly.
have.
The smoother the roads.
Yeah, the smoother roads. Well put. All right, so that I think we've had a really good conversation. I want to come to the end of this conversation, but there's one question that I've always wanted to ask, and that's what this podcast is all about. It's like a signature question. I hope it becomes one. It's called the decision altitude question. Okay. So all of us know, for anyone watching or listening to this, in aviation, decision altitude is the point on an instrument approach where you either commit or you don't commit. You either see the runway and land or you go around. Okay. There's no time to think. It is just, yeah, you decide at that point. So in life as well, we have a lot of decision altitudes. I'm going to ask you, what was your decision altitude in life the moment you saw that, okay, this was enough is enough, I'm going to do this or that? A lot of people are confused whether to take the leap. Me myself has been there. So what was your decision altitude, Siddharth?
Like I said for the beginning of the conversation, when I was sitting in that interview room and I had the decision in front of me. Should I continue with the job or should I go around and, uh, do what's in my passion of flying? So for me, that was the decision altitude day, I would say. And I chose to listen to my heart, do a go around and become a pilot. Yeah, that was my decision altitude that day. And I hope many
Yeah, it's like
others, I hope everyone who is wanting to become a pilot takes a decision like that one day.
you have to at one point. I think time's not going to come later knocking, hey, have you become a pilot
Yeah,
yet? You have one call to make and you got to do it if you really want it.
exactly.
As we spoke about, like, you got to know all of these things
Yeah,
beforehand, but the better you are more aware of it, the better your process will be.
correct.
Like, it's going to be a long
Correct.
process, but like we talked about, the smoother the planning, the smoother the roads.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks so much, Siddharth, for coming in. I really appreciate you for this conversation. I hope a lot of people are more aware about the things we talked about today. So the MPL, uh, the post CPL waiting period. What do they do? Flying the 320, and how you get selected for the Arabia
Thank
Cadet.
you so much for
Okay. Thank you
having
so much for
me.
tuning in once again.
Thank you so much for having me, Khalil. It's been a great
Any
conversation.
last tips for the audience? Any last pieces of advice? I know you've given a lot, but anything else?
Stay sharp, guys. Don't slack. This is the time. Prepare hard, study well, and choose wisely, live well.
Wow, that's like a whole statement. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Siddharth.
so much, Khalil. Have a good day.